You know, being a fan artist is pretty great. You get to watch or play what you like and get to draw a lot, which you also love. But in this day and age of short attention span, where the goal of most media is to prioritize quantity and speed above anything else, aspiring artists and creatives alike are struggling to spit out as much content as possible to either catch up with the trends or to keep their momentum going. Putting hours and hours of effort into a single piece and left your account barren for a month is just unthinkable now. So I'm going to do it anyway, because there's a saying where I live that says effort always bear fruits, and surely that is true. Right? To prove that, I'll be taking on the biggest drawing project I've ever done in my life and banging my head against a wall until it's done. I'll be going through my thought process from drafting to the finished piece, and spoilers, it was pretty tough. Hello Non, my motto is now or never, and this is a story of a stubborn artist trying to resist his laziness. When you get to know someone, whether it is in real life or online personality, in your head, you're essentially creating an impression of them, like Superman, strong, Gojo Satoru, sexy eyes, OPAF. The point is, you know them not just by their names and looks, but also associates them with their lore and vibes as well. Now, to use this to improve our art, we have two choices, whether you overly boost their vibes or subverting them in some way. For me, I find the first choice is quite hard to nail down because there's a lot of highly skilled artists that had done that and better than me already. So to keep me motivated and scratch that creative itches, I chose to subvert their vibe instead most of the time. Like the sketch that I am doing right now. To give a little context, these two are VTubers from Whole Life English, and the fans think they pair really well together. Whether it is their mirroring designs to their chemistry on streams that bounces off each other so well.
What can I do to make it better?
Kiss me.
So that's a lot, and I mean a lot of fan arts of them together being happy and playful and stuff. But what I noticed about their lore was that Liz is kind of a cop and Riza is a fugitive. So if they want to be together, they're gonna have to go through a lot to do that. And if Riza is a demon, it would only make sense if Liz's bosses who, you know, order her to capture Riza to be the heavens, right? So with these ideas in mind, I quote-unquote quickly drafted these 3 thumbnails, using what little composition knowledge I have to create these drafts to not my ideas just flow away. Then I chose this one and spent hours trying to make it work, adding colors, adding effects, drawing and redrawing the face, fixing the part that felt off. I even thought maybe this is because it's a draft so it feels messy, so maybe if I do the line art it will look better. But yeah, after redoing the line art for like 40 minutes, it doesn't feel right. My head was telling my hand to keep drawing, but my eyes and my hand just wouldn't listen. It's screaming something is wrong. And to this day, I still couldn't put my hands on why it doesn't look right to me. Then I decided to scrap all of that and go back to my thumbnails again. This time I picked this one, where I tried to experiment with the golden ratio composition. The reason why I chose this one was because it requires much less effort on the background, because it's not background, yeah, it's just ground, you know? So instead of pouring my brain power to think what to do for the background, I can just put my effort into thinking and refining the main focus of the piece instead. Right now, I'm experimenting a lot to do a bunch of trials and errors to see which one sticks, while also trying to get the face right, because, you know, that's the main focus of the piece with any characters in it. Now, while I'm struggling with this draft, let me tell you how I got here. When I started taking art seriously, the only thing I thought was important was just to get good with drawing and coloring. I mean, that's the whole reason why I wanted to do art in the first place. But it's both overwhelmingly terrifying, but also exciting to learn that there is so much more than that. You got perspectives, color theories, lighting, composition, and even if you got the basics of these topics right, you still have to think about how to make it work together and, you know, make it look good. One way to do that is to make it engaging and immersive. Do you ever notice that most of the arts you see on the internet have the characters looking at you? That is one way to make it immersive. And to add to that, I also see a lot of artists do these POV shots that give us, the viewer, these hands and arms. I saw this and thought I could play around with it a little bit because you can give a lot more depth of the story behind the art while also making it more immersive. I already experimented with this piece I submitted to the HoYoverse competition. And in this one, I gave us, the viewer, a role of a criminal who got caught by this character called Qingyi, who is a cop. I also want immersion in this piece that I'm working on, so I did it in reverse. Since this is a story of Liz and Rissa having a quote-unquote friendly relationship forbidden by the heaven, why not make us the heaven, capturing both of them instead? This hand serves two more purposes to the piece too. The first one is the foreground. They add a sense of depth and give context to the eyes that it takes place in a 3D space, and Liz and Rissa is below the hand. The other benefit of this hand is that it creates these lines that goes towards the focus of the piece, essentially guiding the gaze when you first look at it towards Liz and Rissa and give them more visual importance in a visual hierarchy. If you're not sure what visual hierarchy is, don't worry, I'll explain it in a bit. But first, let's get back to what I'm struggling right now. Faces. I wasn't going to include this part in a video because I'm not someone who could give advice about drawing face at all, because if you hadn't noticed, I redo Liz's face so many times already, like what, 6-7 times? 10 freaking times! That's how many times I redrew the exact same face over and over again. Whether it is because I changed the draft, or I changed the emotion on her face, or the eye bothering me, or the neck seems soft, I'm just so picky and my skill is just not keeping up. That's why I don't think I can give anyone an advice about how to draw faces, but what I can give you is to tell you why I have to redraw it this many times. And that is because the character faces are on the very top of visual hierarchy. Essentially, they are the absolute top priority of the drawing and need the most amount of attention and effort. Now, let's actually explain what the visual hierarchy actually is. I have two examples for you. First, this is a fan art of the series Chainsaw Man by Dino, a highly skilled artist who has a very painterly style. First, let's zoom in on the face and pay attention to how fine the stroke of the brush is and how detailed the light is. It has one strong light source and a bounced light that reflected on her chin and so many fine strands of hair with exposed lighting. Now let's move down the hierarchy a little bit to the second thing we took notice of, which is the huge skeleton over here. It still had the same source but without the bounced light like the character, and even though we can see its overall shape, it doesn't have the line art and the shape of it is quite ambiguous. Let's move down from the hierarchy again. Let's see the character's lower half. Now we get less defined lighting with very soft shadow and low contrast on both the skirt, the legs and the shoe. We still get some line art, though it is less defined than the face. Do you see what I'm getting at here? If not, I have another example. This one is the official artwork from HoYoverse, the creator of giant gacha games like Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail. This one at first glance looked really defined with high consistency, right? But if you zoom in just a little bit in this tiny area of the artwork, we start to see the difference between how defined the face of the character is compared to this pink tree over here. The face got the lined art, but the tree doesn't. You got clearly defined shadows, but the wood does not. Essentially, what the hierarchy actually is the priority list of visual elements. The higher in the list, the finer the detail. But why would anyone do this? Why wouldn't you just do everything as defined as possible? Well, the obvious answer is because you can. It's very hard because we can only do so much in one piece before having to move on to the next one, as sad that is to say. And the other reason is to guide the viewer's first gaze and tell them what is the main focus of the piece, whether by making certain areas less defined, or blurring it, or giving it less shading, and etc. Now, how did I use it in this piece? Well, I first put these hands here and make it pointing toward the center, and as you'll see after this, I applied base color, do simple shading, quick line art, and applied motion blur, and nothing more. Compared to how I treated Liz and Rissa, this is way more simple. This is how I do the lighting on Liz. I go from base color, soft light, lit area, shadow, darker shadow, secondary light source. Again, if you notice, I changed the expression of Liz's face. I take out the highlights on her eyes and redrew her mouth entirely. Just goes to show how important it is to get the right face, and how I'm not qualified to lecture anyone on how to draw face. After that, I repeat the process for Nerissa, but I made her lit area tiny bit darker than Liz, just to show that her face is slightly lower and slightly lowering her visual hierarchy so the viewer eyes don't get confused which face to focus on first. I then added effects like these feathers that are burning because of Liz's fiery rage, and to give the hands additional context that they are hands of the heavens rather than just a glowy white hand from the sky. I also used it to subtly separate the background from the main focus to give it a 3D feeling. For the glowing effects here and here, I used both overlay and screen blending mode to make it really glow on that dark background. Now, here are some artistic choices that I made. The line art, first of all, are left rough because I wanted a rough feels, and I don't think my normal way of doing line arts are going to do a better job. So I just cleaned the drafts up a little bit and redrew some of it and applied some colors on the clipping mat. Now, let's get to the self-critique. I could have totally done a better job of expressing the rage and the intensity of the piece. I tried to recreate the impression of these highly skilled artists because the emotion just so raw and executed at a top-notch level. But I guess I just have to keep on improving and study more. I also know that my anatomy is definitely lacking, and my color choice is not popping off enough as I'd like it to be, but I know that is something I need a lot more time to be able to reach that level of work, so I encourage you to keep working on it too. If you're also someone who's really passionate about art and want to keep creating, let's do it together. And even though this video is created purely for reflecting on my own work and my thought process, it also serves as an invitation to you to do the same. If you feel stuck, which I definitely do a bunch of times, and feel like you've tried everything that you can possibly do and still feel inadequate, take a look back. Which piece did you do that made you feel so satisfied when you see the end result? Even if you know there's a bunch of flaws, try analyzing your art. Jot down whatever needs to be fixed and set it aside and try complementing it. I believe in this age of nihilism, where a lot of things seem unimportant, complimenting what you love and pat yourself in the back sometimes is a way to reignite your passion. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Norn, and I hope to see you all next time.